سخنران بعدی ما خانم ژاله تبریزی هستند که فعال حقوق زنان هستن و رئیس مؤسسه ارک هستن که الان بهشون بگین لطفاً آرومتر صحبت کنن، یکم خیلی سریع صحبت میکنن. Ladies and gentlemen, the women in Iran face harsh discriminatory laws in their job life and in their daily life because of not being protected by the laws. The lack of legal protection for the women has made many obstacles for the women in the job market. According to the Iranian authorities, more than 48,000 women have lost their jobs after their pregnancy for law. According to the Human Rights Watch, women have reported many cases of violation of their rights because of their clothes in their workplace. It's need to be mentioned that the laws in Iran are based on Sharia law, and it is impossible to adopt them according to the international laws. But the Human Rights Watch only mentions a part of the women, and the women in Iran are discriminated in different classes according to their financial situation, and discriminatory laws are there still, and the issue of the women, of non-Persian women in Iran, is being overseen or not being mentioned, whereas they are being discriminated much more than the Persian women in Iran. And because of that, the Islamic Republic is objecting the 2030 program of the UNESCO, because if this program would be hammered out, then the women of the ethnic minorities would meet some of their rights. But right now, the Baloch, Lor, Kurd, Arab, Turkmen, and Qashqai women cannot enjoy their rights because of the geography of their lives. Many of them cannot read and write, and they don't have access to their mother language in the media, and they are not informed about their mother language. And the marginalized areas suffer from more discriminatory, more discriminized women than the central parts of Iran. Today, the women also face social and domestic violence in Iran, and I would like to mention the domestic violence a bit more. This is one of the main issues of the violence of the women's rights and the human rights. It has historical, cultural, and religious and economical roots. But the main root would be that are the lack of laws which would guarantee the rights of the women, and the laws in Iran, in the Islamic Republic of Iran, they also promote violence against women. There is no real statistic about violence against women in Iran, but so I would talk about eastern, western Azerbaijan provinces and also Ardabil province, but I am pretty sure that this could be more in other cities. And because you know that the traditional culture which is in the families, it also plays a role against the women in Iran, and many people don't know even that they are being discriminated or being targeted to violence. So because of all these reasons and because of the lack of law against violence against women, we see that the violence against women because of honor issues and honor killings, we see that it is increasing in Iran. According to the Welfare Institute of East Azerbaijan province, the head of Welfare Institute said that East Azerbaijan province suffers from violence against women, and in the 9 months of this year we have seen an increase of 57% in violence against women, and there have been 402 cases about this issue. And in Ardabil province it is 29.6% domestic violence, and the economic separation is 33.2%, and the physical violence is 27.2%. Also, psychological violence is 29%, and sexual abuses is 29.2%. And the average age of marriage in Ardabil is 16 years for the women. Almost 18% of the marriages in the families were out of an obligation and not because of the will of the woman. Uh, 31% of the pairs were almost relatives before their marriage. Almost there are many reasons which have been introduced as the roots of the violence against women, but some reasons like the trust between the wife and the husband, and the violence in their families, and the financial issues are the main reasons for this cases. And one of the main reasons is the lack of financial independence of the women. And as long as we don't have the women who can use their own power for financial independence, domestic violence is not going to go away. And any effort which is going to reduce the domestic violence should fight first the misogynist culture in the society, and then empower the women's financial independence. And the main kind of violence has been the psychological violence against women in West Azerbaijan province, which have been reported to the Welfare Institute of Iran. This institute in the West Azerbaijan province says that because the reason of this violence is the lack of support for the women, the problems in the family, and the lack of useful laws to protect the women, and also long judiciary processes. So they confess actually that we have legal discrimination against women in Iran, I'd like to also mention that this violence will be transferred from the parents to the children, and we see now that the children in Iran are beginning a trend to harm themselves. They're injuring themselves with razor blades and in schools, and the education department is doing nothing against it. Thank you very much for your attention.